What's going on, Year 11 VCAL mathematicians? Mr. Herman here, back at it again. And this video is going to be looking at the range and the IQR, which is log 9, 36.10. And the range and the IQR, also known as measuring the spread of data, 36E in the textbook. There's going to be quite a bit of information to digest with this. The range is really simple. The IQR, on the other hand, a bit tricky because there are different circumstances to find the IQR. I'll explain what the range and the IQR is, or more importantly, just the range, and the IQR, I'll explain what the IQR is straight into examples, okay? So the range is a set of numbers. It's a difference between the highest and the lowest numbers when put in order from smallest to largest, okay? So you just got to remember that this fact here, if we get data, okay, so we get a set of numbers, we get the highest number and the lowest number, and we find the difference. So set 1 here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 random numbers. Maybe there was a survey of some sort. How many points did you score in a basketball game? And you just take the biggest and the smallest. So the biggest is 10 and the smallest is 2. And you find the difference. 10 take away 2 is 8. So my range, in this case, for this set of numbers is 8. The numbers range 8 units, okay? Now this range can be the same if the smallest number was 80 and the largest number was 88. The range would still be 8 in this case. So remember, this just talks about the spread of the units from smallest to largest, okay? It's not a new data set or data point, it's the spread. Where in this case here, set 2, take the smallest, look at the smallest and the largest, find the difference. 10 take away 4 is 6. So this set here, the range is 6, meaning that the values range are quite close together. There's not as much what we call variability within the numbers here, the data points. So each set contains 8 scores and has the same mean. So both of the means, when you work them out, add them all up and divide by 8. Both of the means in this case are 8. However, the data is not necessarily identical, as the spread or the range scores are different. And this range, this set of information of range, is just another point of useful information when talking about data, okay? It does have importance depending on the data set and the context that we're talking about. So by quoting the range, we can indicate the difference between the spread of the scores in the two sets of data, okay? So the range is really simple. Take the highest, take the lowest, and then find the difference between the two. But then we have this thing called an interquartile range, okay? Interquartile range. And the interquartile range, we know that it has the range in there, okay? So we know what the range is. It's finding a scope between two values. But interquartile, IQ, interquartile, just means inside quarters, okay? Now, this, if you haven't heard of this before and it does not make sense, what I'll do is I'm going to jump straight into 4 different examples, okay? 1 and 2, 3, 4 there. And within those examples, I'm going to find what's called the 5-number summary system, okay? Not specifically, I'm just gonna pull out different numbers of importance within this data set, and I'm gonna label them, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to count how many numbers do we have here? How many numbers are in this data set? And remember, don't include this one. This is just question 1. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 values. So my n is 9. There are 9 data points. So maybe we just ask 9 different people. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to find the median. Now the median is easy to find. It's extracting that middle value, okay? And the median in this case is also known as Q2, and the Q just stands for quarter. So for finding the second quarter, remember there are 4 quarters, we're just finding the second one. And when we try to find the median when the number of data points is odd, we're just extracting one number. Remember in the previous video, you can have 2 scenarios when there's an odd number or an even number. Because it's odd, to look for the odd amount, we're just going to add 1 to this, 10, divided by 2, 5. So it will be our 5th number. So our Q2, or the median, the middle number, is just the 5th value. It's just the 5th. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ironically being the number 5, and we've got 4 on one side and 4 on the other side. So the 5th number is 5. So my median is equal to 5. Okay, simple. Now we are going to find another simple thing, which is the range. So the range, our range, this is the biggest number, which is 11, take away the smallest number, which is 2. And so in this case, our range is 9. Okay, so our range is 9. The variability between the smallest and the largest number is 9. So the range and the median, very, very simple. Now, in order for us to find what's considered the interquartile range, we need to find Q1 and Q3. What is Q1 and Q3? Let's have a look at this. Q1 and Q3 just means that if we look at the first half, or the first chunk, the left side before the median, and we look at the right side of the median, we can see 2 separate chunks. Okay, now this is just assuming that we have an odd amount, okay, that we have 1 in the middle, and we'll look at the different scenarios that we get. But for now, let's look when there's this one middle number. We're just going to forget this middle number for now. We're going to what we call omit it. Okay, we're not going to just get rid of it and it's not a number anymore. We're just going to disregard it for now when looking for Q1 and Q3. To get my Q1, I'm going to look for the middle value within this chunk. Now, unfortunately, there's not just one middle value in here, but there are actually 2 middle values. Okay, so because each side has an even amount, this here will be my middle chunk for the left hand side, and this here will be my middle chunk for the right hand side. With the left considered as Q1, we are looking for what goes in between 2 and 3. Well, that's 2.5, yeah, 2.5, isn't it? So my Q1 is 2.5. Okay, very, very simple. I just looked at the left side, okay, and there could be more numbers within this left side depending on how many number of values you have. But there are 2 middle numbers, and I just find the average of that. Same thing with Q3. I look for the 2 middle numbers in this case, 9 and 10. The middle value of that is 9.5. And that right there is our Q3. So we found these middle chunks. So Q1 is 2.5 and Q3 is 9.5. Okay. And what we do to get our interquartile range, or our IQR, is think about it in this way. We're trying to, when we found the range, we got the biggest number and subtracted the smallest number. When we find the interquartile range, we're just finding what's considered as the middle range. We're just finding the difference between Q3 and Q1. And it says it in the word here, inter meaning inside, and quartile meaning the inside quarters. We found the first quarter, why it's called Q1. We found the third quarter, why it's called Q3. And we're just finding the difference between the two. And you can hear my wife probably asking for the dog in the background. So what's our Q3? 9.5. And what's our Q1? 2.5. So the difference between 9.5 and 2.5, in this case is, I'll take it to 7. Our middle range is 7. Okay? And that's how you find the interquartile range. Now, why is the interquartile range important? What significance does this have? Well, the range of values from 2 to 11, this range of 9 indicates that there is a spread or variability of 9 units, okay? Then sometimes this 9 isn't necessarily reliable if we have some digits that go beyond the expected range. So for instance, what happens if I did like, say data points, and all of these numbers were the same, except for the last one. And I changed the 11 to say 35. This 35 is considered a very, very large number, and it's a one number by itself that is large. And we were to find the range of 35 to 2, the range is 33. It's a difference between the two. That range isn't necessarily a true depiction of the spread of all of the numbers as a whole. Okay, because we have this one random 35 that just kind of spikes it out. So to play it safe, instead of getting the range of the whole first and last number, we get the range of the middle chunk. Okay, we get the interquartile range, because that will give us a safer range of the middle values. Okay, and it will give us a better depiction of what's really going on behind the digits. Because if I change this to a 35, my interquartile range will still be 7. So we say, okay, the middle chunk in this here is 7, okay? And this is why interquartile range is considered a very important feature when looking into data, okay? Now, admittedly, this is a lot to take in, okay? We've got all these new terminologies that we have to work with: Q1s, quarters, interquartile range, and medians and Q2s, etc. But as long as you know what you have to extract from the data points and data values, and you know the positionings of each of them, it's actually fairly simple. And all it takes is just a bit of exposure to the different examples, okay? We're now gonna look at this one where we're gonna again look for Q1, 2, 3, the range, and the interquartile range. The first thing we do is check how many data points do we have. Our n value, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 values. So again, it's an odd amount. And when our number of values is odd, we can just extract one number. 11 plus 1 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So it is the 6th value will give us our median. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our 6th one, why is it in the circle? Okay, there we go. It's a bit delayed there. Our 6th value is 7. So our median, also known as our Q2, this is equal to 7. All right, now let's find our Q1 and our Q3. So remember, when there's an odd amount, we just forget about this middle number for now. Okay, for now, and we look for our Q1 and our Q3. Now you'll notice that in the Q1 section, the first chunk before the median, there are actually 5 numbers, which is an odd amount, meaning I can just find my Q1 straight away. I don't have to look for some middle number between 2 numbers. Same here, 5 numbers, so I know my Q1 and Q3 are just a number that I can extract by itself. So Q1 and Q3, this right here is 2 and 10 respectively. Okay, very simple. No finding middle number or average business. It just really depends on how many numbers, not necessarily how many, but if the numbers on the left and on the right are even or odd. When they're even, you've got to find 2 middle numbers and get the middle number from those 2 middle numbers. When they're odd, you can just take one of those numbers, okay? So we've got our Q1, we've got our Q3. Let's get our range. The range is just the biggest, take away the smallest. So our range in this case is 13, take away 1, which is equal to 12. The interquartile range, the IQR, Q3 take away Q1, so the middle chunk difference is, in this case, 10 take away 2, which is 8. So we've got median 7, Q1 2, Q3 10, range difference between the highest and lowest 12, and interquartile range difference between Q3 and Q1, which is 8. Okay, again, bit of practice, takes a while to wrap your head around it. And the reason why is because there are going to be now scenarios where the amount of data points that we have is actually even, and this is what we're going to look at here. Scenario 3, or question 3, and scenario 4. All right, what's our n value? Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Our n value is even. We have an even amount of numbers. And what we do in this case is, because we have an even amount, we're going to have two middle numbers right here. Two middle numbers, 9 and 11, meaning that our median, or our Q2, in this case, is the number that lies in between 9 and 11, which is 10, or the average or the mean of those two numbers, which is 10. Okay, so my middle value is 10. Now, let's split this up to get our Q1 and Q3, and this is where one of the main differences lies between finding Q1 and Q3. When we found Q1 and Q3 when there was one middle value, we forgot about that middle value. We didn't consider it. That's why I've got these brackets just before it and just after it. But in this scenario here, when we have two middle values, let me just acting a bit slow, sorry about that, there we go. We have two middle numbers. We include those numbers for the first half and for the second half. We include those numbers. We don't forget about 9 and forget about 11. We actually include them. And in this case here, now that we've included 9 on the left and 11 on the right, we have 4 digits on the left, which is an even number. We have to get two middles. And we've got 11 on the right hand side, 4 numbers, so 2 middles. So our Q1 is 5 and 7, the mean of 5 and 7. So in this case, this number is 6. And our Q3 is in the middle of 12 and 13, which is 12.5. Okay, I just know it's the middle number. You can add those two numbers up and then divide it by 2. That works just as fine as well. All right, now let's get our range and interquartile range. Biggest takeaway smallest, which is 14, take 4. So highest 14, smallest 4, and this is equal to 10. There's our range. Our range is 10. IQR. Once you find your Q1 and Q3, everything just falls into place. It's just finding specific numbers. IQR is Q3 take away Q1. So this is the 12.5 take away 6. So this is equal to 6.5. So the middle range just ranges by 6.5 units. And lastly, let's have a look at this last scenario. Now, scenario 3, in my honest opinion, is one of the trickiest ones because we're getting not 1, not 2, but 3 different middle numbers between 2 of them. Okay, and it gets quite annoying. Where scenario 2 is, you can see me dragging this up, but it's taking very long. There we go. Where scenario 2 is my favorite because there's only one number to extract straight away. There's no finding average of 2 numbers business. Okay. Long video, I apologize, but I do want to just show you all the different scenarios just to make sure that you guys are ahead of knowing what's going on. N value, how many digits? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Even. Alright, so between the 7th and the 8th, so we're going to split this up into 7 parts. To 2 parts, sorry, each of them having 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. There's the 2 parts. Okay, let's get the middle value for Q2. So our Q2, I'm going to write median, there's no point, is the average or the mean of 8 and 8, which is just 8. If the numbers are the same, 8 and 8, the value is those 2 numbers itself, 8. Okay. Q1. Now Q1, remember we include 8 on the left hand side and on the right hand side. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is an odd amount, so we're just extracting one number from that middle. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we're just extracting one number from that middle. Now you can see that I've put a circle around it, but it's taken its time. Seems to be going quite slower than usual. I don't know what's going on. This is so awkward. Oh no. Alright, I'm gonna give it a pause and see what's going on. I feel like it's like when a pen runs out. It's so annoying. Okay, we've got a Q1 and our Q3. We just found the middle number of each one. Q1, 6, Q3, 11. Let's get our range. Range is biggest, take away smallest. So this is equal to 14, take 3, which is 11. And the interquartile range, the IQR is this 11, take 6. So the difference between 11 and 6, and this ends up being 5. And there you go, guys. There it is. Finding your Q1, your Q3, your range, and your interquartile range. And Q2, which is a median as well. And that concludes this video. Quite a lot to take in, so apologies for that, but it is good to get awareness of how to find your Q1s and your Q3s, because I always get the questions from students, what happens when they're an even amount on each side or an odd amount on each side or only one middle number? These are the only 4 scenarios that you'll get, okay? And see which scenario is used for certain questions from the log sheet. The log sheet here is just question 1 and 2. Now a little bit of heads up, guys, that with this log sheet, there's gonna be one more video, which is box and whisker plots, and then there's an assignment. Now this assignment, I'm just gonna flag as red for now. And the reason why is because the assignment, oh, I got a keyboard, what the, yeah, there we go. This assignment that we have going on here, this was based on taking data from the street of how many cars will drive past your house, not your house, the school. We're not at school. And I'm not going to set the assignment for cars driving past your house, just in case some of those students live really, really rurally or near a farm where they rarely see cars driving past, given the circumstances anyways. So this assignment or assessment that's going to be given is just going to be altered, and I'm talking to Miss McLean about this soon in regards to what we have to do. Okay, so just hang tight for this assignment for now. In the meantime, questions 1 and 2 for log 9, and I'll see you guys in the next video for log 10, box and whisker plots 36.11. Catch you guys then.